What's going on, everybody? This is Nick Lawson from Squad Sports, and this is episode number 50, big number 50 of your sports sponsorship tip of the week. All right, this week, I'm gonna dive into what I like to call a stimulus package. We're gonna be heading on to what's probably a pretty big recession, with jobs being lost, with the economy being down. There's going to be a certain subset of sponsors who not only are just going to decrease spending, but are really going to be in dire straits. We've already seen it. We've already seen some restaurants close. We've already seen some small businesses close. I think the key thing right now is to be the people's champ. I've talked about this in the past. Showing empathy, being the people's champ, being the city people's champ, being the organization that's going to help bring change, momentum back, and be a part of the rebuild. It's great for your team, but it's also great for your sponsorship department. So here's a tactical way that you can actually push that and be the driver of that. So obviously we have our bigger market, let's call it sponsors. They have dollars to spend. Budweiser's, insurance companies, health insurance companies, auto dealerships, right? These bigger sort of organizations have a vested interest into the community. They also have sponsorship dollars. They also have, marketing dollars that they're looking to spend. There's a great narrative, a great story that you can build that really is going to make it so that you are that sponsor can be a big part of the regrowth and the rebuild of your sponsorship community moving forward. So the tip of the week is this: go to your big time, your insurance partners, your car dealerships that are doing decently fine and looking to spend, and create a program where you're going to highlight a menu item from a smaller restaurant partner. Yes, doesn't matter if they're a sponsor or not, doesn't matter any of that. Go to your smaller restaurants in the city, go up to them and say, hey, I know you're struggling. I would love to highlight a menu item on your restaurant to be able to drive the influence that we have with our team, drive them there. The only caveat is you have to have sort of this Toyota, this Ford logo kind of on the promotion. They're paying for it. Ford is paying for you to be successful, right? Go to your most, let's call it, popular restaurants and go do that. Go to some of your mom and pop ones that maybe aren't the most popular, but still are a staple within the community, and offer that. You're not trying to sell this restaurant on this package at all. They don't have the money, they don't have the resources. What you are doing, though, is going into the community and saying, hey, look, Ford is subsidizing, Toyota is subsidizing, State Farm is subsidizing your sponsorship package. We're going to give you one menu item. It's going to be posted across our social media channels. If you have fans in the stands, it's going to be posted across that. Ford's putting up the money, so if you're going to thank somebody, thank Ford, and we're going to promote that each game, whatever that may be. What this does is crazy good. The first thing that it does is it conveys to your small business owners, who, by the way, buy Ford, they buy insurance, right? It conveys to them that this sponsor is really, really a part of rebuilding your community, and so are you as a team. The second thing that it does is it taps into their influence. And this is kind of the key thing here. If there is a very popular restaurant within your city and it's struggling, right? It's smaller, it's not gonna have sort of those big budgets to sort of succeed. It's struggling with that. It doesn't have the marketing dollars to push, but it does have a large following. You and Ford are now tapping into that following. You and Ford are now a piece of that following and can really pull that in. So I think the big thing there is with doing an activation, a campaign like this, you're actually tapping into the influence of this popular but smaller non-franchised restaurant, right? You're only giving one menu item per week. You're going to all your restaurants in your city, you're offering this. The key thing it does, though, is it conveys to fans, beyond the business owners, it conveys to fans this: your team cares about rebuilding the community. That's number one. And I think that should be goal number one within all this for your team. Your team needs to be a cornerstone, even if you are struggling as a team. I know a lot of you are out there, but you need to be a cornerstone of foundation and growth as we kind of come back from this thing. Because if you support your community is going to come back and support you tenfold. We've seen that across the board. It should absolutely be in your strategy. That's number one. But number two is you're actually driving dollars, because you're going to the sponsors who do have marketing budget. If they weren't spending with you, they were probably going to spend it on Facebook ads, right? But you're giving them a narrative to say you also can be a key piece at building this community back up. So you're partnering with your resources, and you're putting that toward a community partner, and you can be a part of that regrowth. I don't think there's going to be many Ford dealers, many Toyota dealers, many insurance companies, even like your big distributors, or even your beer companies, right? Because they have a vested interest in that restaurant staying alive. There's a ton that you can do here to build that goodwill. But again, it also conveys to your fan base that Ford or whoever you have sponsoring that, and your team is unequivocally committed to being the people's champ and to growing this, right? You absolutely could go to these small restaurants and say, hey, I'm going to allow you to buy this menu item piece here. It's going to be very cheap. I know even one of my tip of the week in the past was to bring it down and sell on a per post basis. Obviously, there's going to be options to do that, and there's going to be times to do that as well. But I think the key thing for you all is how can we subsidize that with a bigger sponsor? Build that into the package so they're still paying you for those marketing dollars, where context makes a lot of sense, the story makes a lot of sense, and then build them into your team influence and also that restaurant's influence to tell the story that, hey, our team and Ford care unequivocally about rebuilding this community. Here's what we've done. We're giving promotional posts to small businesses. It's going out on Instagram, Twitter at these points, and we're growing that. Our goal is to help those restaurants come up. The final thing is if you help a restaurant come back and they are successful later, now they're going to come back and spend with you. This is the long play. You're not going to get dollars today. I know you have to get dollars today. Unequivocally get it. You have to get dollars today to stay alive as a team. But this is a way you can get dollars today with a bigger sponsor that has that ad budget. But then even tomorrow, that restaurant is going to connect, growing, and you were there for them when they needed it the most. Now when they actually have dollars, who do you think they're going to spend on? So it's long-term growth, right? You're not expecting it, but it's probably going to happen. But again, you can drive dollars short term for your team right now with this activation, as well as help fuel your sponsor to be in a really, really good light for your community. And I can't stress this enough. The teams that are the cornerstone of rebuilding our cities, our local food, all of these sort of companies that were struggling. Again, don't go bankrupt doing it, but there are ways that you can drive revenue for your team as well as help grow and build that. The teams that do that will win unequivocally over the next 10 years. They unequivocally will win if you put that in. So that's my tip of the week this week. Again, get your bigger brands that normally are just dropping dollars into Facebook ads, things like that. Tell them the story about how you can actually sell more cars if you're the people's champion in your community, with a restaurant partnership, with a small business partnership, highlighting some of these businesses, but subsidizing from Ford. That's what they're kind of paying for. And then be able to use that to really play the long game and help be the people's champ as you build this community. That's my tip of the week this week. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. And remember, keep pushing those limits within sports sponsorship.